Morning, Rucker.
Morning, Polly.
Episode 6.
It's here.
Can you believe this?
It's happening a lot quicker. I feel like I start every one of these like this, but no, it's awesome what we've seen so far.
I know. That means we're having fun, though. I like that.
Yep.
It's just getting together with a like mind in the car business, the automotive industry, and just talking. And it's funny how people from other industries keep reaching out to me after they watch the episodes going, that's the same exact thing for our industry. The housing market that you've referenced before. Other businesses, smaller businesses, like, oh no, we do the same things. We talk about those same things. We do those same processes. It's funny how they all kind of link together.
They do. And it's, especially as we get into today's topic, when we talk about meeting cadence, and again, as we do our 2-second prep work before we just jump in blind, it's amazing. A lot of industries are going to have the same meeting cadence or have similar meetings. Maybe they call it something different, or maybe it's exactly the same. But I'm curious to see how similar our meetings are to many other industries.
I am too. Of course, we talk to a lot of people in other industries because everybody needs an automobile.
Yeah.
You always have to go to work. Right? So we get to meet a lot of those people, right? So meeting cadence, you brought that up. We talked about that hey, what do we want to talk about today? And you're like, how about meeting cadence? And here we are,
yes.
Right? So we're just kind of diving in. It's important to me anyways. It's important to me to do them, but it's important to be effective.
Yeah.
Because if you're not effective, it's a waste of time. And you start making a lot of people angry because you're together too much, or the sales staff's going, hey, where are my managers? Let's talk about those things before we get into each meeting and what they are or what to do. Let's talk about what meetings, when you should have them. Let's talk about those things.
Yeah, and why, right? So I think when I categorize meetings, it's who needs to be in them first, and then kind of break it down from there. So when you have your executive meetings, the owners, the executives are the one that are talking to all the people that run things, right? That's one meeting. And then as you go down through each step, you then disseminate that information and feed it into other meetings as well. So for me, at my store, I like to break it up into manager meetings and then staff meetings and then all staff meetings. So the all staff ones are the very short, long periods in between each one, but you get all the information together. The bulk of theirs are going to be with their managers, with their individual departments, and then, of course, just managers. Those I do on a more, not more consistent, but more often time schedule, so that I can get that information to them, and then they can then disseminate it as well.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Because, one of the big frustrations typically for an owner, if you will, is, hey, listen, I'm talking to you guys. Are you getting my information to my people? Are you passing this down the line? Are you communicating like I am to you, to everybody I want to get this information? And that's why, that's that fine line. Because the owner could have everybody in the room together, but then we're not effective in the stores. But if he pulls out a certain amount of people, he hopes that the information gets to everybody that wasn't able to come. So these are all those fine lines, and we can talk about these things because, where we work, amazing amount of meetings, but man, we're effective in those meetings, but it can frustrate people on how many we do.
Yeah. And it's honestly the amount that we do is long, the higher up you get seems to be the more meetings, right? The people that are boots on the ground, they have the smallest amount. But I think that's the right way to do it, right? The people that are making the money, doing the production, that are most affected by being off of the floor or out of their money-making areas, it definitely makes the most sense to do the least amount. And I think we do a pretty good job of, if it needs to be an email, send it in an email. If it needs to be a meeting, make it a meeting. And the other piece that I like to focus on is not too many take-homes from each meeting. It's okay to coach and teach in a meeting, but it's another thing to have, 40 expectations coming out of one meeting.
Sure.
You got to keep it short and concise. The meat of that meeting can be larger or smaller, but the overall topic's got to stay small so that something can be taken out of it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think each different meeting, and we'll get into those meetings here shortly. Let's start just, in a minute, we'll start ripping through them. But to your point, a sales meeting needs to be one length. An operational review needs to be a different length. But it depends on what time you do those as well. Like if you get your managers together at 7:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning to get kicked off, a little bit before the staff starts rolling in, and then that meeting goes a little past. It's different than starting the meeting when the staff's there and running the whole meeting into the meat of the day. Yeah. That's when you start losing some interest in your people.
That's what we've tried. We've tried to move the manager meeting, anything involving all of the managers, we tried to move those before hours. Even the operational reviews we were doing during business hours in the past. The past two, we were able to get them completed before the bulk of the staff was there. So, and the neat thing is, if you're leading correctly, you make the decision together so that everybody's bought in. And it's hard to get people there 2 hours before you open. But at the same time, I mean, when we went around the room, it was, no, you know what? I'd rather come in early. I can get my whole day. It doesn't interrupt anything. It doesn't disrupt the staff. So that was kind of neat to let them pick. And I think overall it's a much, much better time.
As long as they're effective. If they're effective meetings and you have people absolutely engaged and there's topics prepared and everybody's ready to go for the meeting, they won't be upset that it's before hours. Right? So, after hours is tough. After you have a long day, if you want to stay late, we've tried those way in the past. It's hard.
Yeah.
People need to get home to their families, which, by the way, are more important than anything.
Right.
As you and I both know, with all of our children that we have running around. But, no, I agree with you more. So let's do this. Let's start with one of the meetings. Name one of the meetings, and let's walk through them one by one.
For us, the one that we do the most would be manager meetings.
Okay.
So I guess I have two different names for them. So I do a manager meeting Monday and Thursday. So it's all the managers from the store. We get together. It's kind of a
You mean you have fixed and a variable together?
Yeah. So we have new, used, parts, body shop, service, but we also bring in our office managers. We also bring in our BDC manager. We'll have our grassroots manager, marketing manager. When we had them in a more concise basis, now we took on marketing back in store, which I'm a huge fan of. But if it's a manager and they interact with your store, you want all of them in those manager meetings.
Yeah, I think we've alluded to this in prior episodes. Having other departments together, all different departments together, you get so much from one department, feedback to another. It's crazy how the great ideas usually come from outside of your department. And when you have your manager meeting, especially one of the hot topics you just said was you had the office there. I mean, how important is having the office in your meetings? And the office knows what's going on the floor. So many dealerships or people that I talk to outside of our dealerships say, oh my gosh, the office in the sales floor, they don't talk. If they do, it's not nice.
Yeah.
We don't have that problem because we're all involved together. We meet together. We know the mission every day as a whole versus that darn office. They're always mean to us. Can't believe they made us do this. Can't believe they need a clearer copy of that. No, we're all on the same page, and I think that's important.
And, that overlapping, and again, this is the fine line between, doing too many meetings and keeping everybody involved, because we do, even in our sales meetings, we do invite certain particular people from the office to be in those meetings as well. And it really just helps, blend those relationships together. And again, my store does a great job. You don't have any one department on an island. You don't seem to have as much friction as you typically do in a typical dealership. My service manager gets along with my used car manager. My service manager gets along with my parts manager. My body shop manager gets along with my parts manager. It's new and used car managers get along. It shouldn't be unusual, but I think when you leave them on islands and you have individual meetings, it definitely starts to alienate, but it does create kind of that divide. Well, that's that department, so I'm staying out of that department, or that department created that problem, as opposed to seeing the big picture and how we influence each other's departments and each other's decisions.
Sure, for sure. On this one, you said manager meetings.
Yes.
And you have the managers of all your departments in the room at the same time, and you said twice a week?
Yeah.
Mondays and Thursdays, you said?
Yep.
Okay. And how long are those meetings?
So those we keep to a half an hour. And if we really run through it, we can get done in about 20 minutes. If the discussions get a little more in depth, then it runs to the full 30. And the goal is, where's the health of the store? Where's the health of each department? Where can we influence each other? And that's where, we're not overstaffed, but your busiest day in service may or may not be the busiest day in sales or busiest day in parts or whatever. So it also helps them decide, okay, this is what my service manager's day looks like. So when a service problem comes up, the store all knows that, hey, don't pass things off to the service manager. You take them today. It's going to be busy. They're behind their objective, ahead of their objective, need help, don't need help, whatever it might be. So it's really nice that you can kind of set the pulse and the pace. You also get that collaboration in there too, where, hey, I hear you're behind. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? It allows the little minor tweaks as we go throughout the month. And same thing, that same disseminating information. So for me, got all my managers in one place. So if I was in an executive or corporate meeting, those are my times that I've got twice a week. I keep a list of everything that's come up.
Yep.
And we drop it in that meeting so that they can then pass it out. They then
open your notes from the executive meeting, say, guys, here's what we talked about in Gales, right?
Yeah.
Yep. 100% agree with you. And you said it's like 30 minutes, and you were talking about pace. Hey, are you behind pace? Are you ahead of pace?
Yep.
You're talking about forecast, I'm assuming. Is that what you mean by pace? Yeah. And how important is forecast for every department, right? It's uberly important. And we all want to help each other get to their forecast. Like, it's crazy to me when you talk about exactly the topic you're talking about and the new car manager saying, man, we need this many more of blank widgets. And the service manager go, hey, you know what we could do? We could do this in the service lane to push 5 more of those widgets for you. Yeah. And all of a sudden they're both smiling and they put a plan together. It all comes out of those meetings because they're together.
Yes.
Can you imagine if you just did a service meeting, a sales meeting, a body shop meeting, a parts meeting? Can you imagine having all of those different meetings and then try to communicate? You would be lost. But absolutely. I believe there's dealerships out there doing that, and that's, or even a different business.
Right.
In other words, get all your people together.
For sure. Get them all at the same time, and especially because you to pivot rather quickly, right? If the new car's side's behind, they can give out their payments again. They can hand them out. And then when they do their individual meetings, they can talk about the payments and everything else. Because that's the key, is getting everybody in one specific place and everybody flows. And we talked about it in the profitability episode. If I don't service enough cars, then I'm not going to be able to hit my objectives.
Yes.
So they need
tied together.
Yes, parts needs to know, hey, they're coming in short. We're going to have to, sell to more individual customers, or we're going to have to go find more body shop customers to sell parts to. Same thing, body shop. When body shop's running behind, it puts service behind, it puts parts behind. Same thing with sales. If we're not ordering cars, service and parts aren't going to be prepping the cars. So the communication's key. For sure.
Absolutely. So that's their sales meetings, right? 30 minutes. We got all the different managers of all the different departments together, including the office managers are in that meeting. You also said your marketing managers as well. I mean, we can go through all of them, getting them all in one room, and it's fun to come together for that 30 minutes. Yeah. The sales staff's just trickling in, and we're just cranking on our meeting, saying, okay, here's where we are, here's our objectives, here's what we have to do. And then you walk out of that meeting and you go to on Mondays and Thursdays, don't you go to your sales meeting?
Yep, sales meeting comes next.
Talk to me about who's in the sales meeting and how long are they, and what are your missions, what are your goals of your sales meetings?
So same thing, just piggybacking, running the 2 meetings back to back. The managers don't get distracted. They're ready for the sales meeting. They've already been up and engaged, right? They got the sleepy dust out of their eyes. Yep. Second cup of coffee is now being poured.
As I'm doing now.
But they're up and going, right? Their blood's already flowing. Their energy's already up. You've already set the mood, the pace, the tone.
Yes.
That they can now run the sales meeting.
Yes.
So the sales meeting, it's all the sales staff. The BDC, the entire BDC is there. All of your variable managers are there. If anything came up in your manager's meeting from parts or service or body shop, they would then be a special guest as a speaker in your sales meeting.
Yes.
So a new recall came out.
Did that happen yesterday?
Yes. Well, it doesn't matter when this episode aired. It always happened yesterday. Something happened yesterday.
That's true.
So same thing. But body shop, we're behind, we're ahead. That communication makes it to the people in the sales meeting. So you bring all of those people, you bring your sales assistants. Ideally, we're bringing either the inventory manager or the head porter in. We typically have out of our office at least one of the managers out of the office sitting in the crowd so that they're not speaking too often, but part of the team. But then we also have somebody from our incentives team. We'll have typically one of our billers in there as well so that they can kind of see and hear the feedback. One, did we actually say what we said we were going to do? Because in the manager's meeting, the office brought up a great topic that needs to be readdressed. So they'll be in there to reiterate anything, or they'll be able to expand upon it. That first initial, I hate this rule. Good. Get it out in the meeting. The doors are closed. Let's have fun. And then they get to hear the whys and the whats. And then the cool part is the sales frustration is at least voiced ahead of time. Yeah. And then they can now validate this was important. That is why we're doing it. Or no, it's not as complicated as I thought. Getting as many people in there as possible. Every one of your managers will end up grassroots when we have a grassroots something coming up. Trainers when we have a new product or we have something else. Like even when we have an outside trainer from a third-party company, we try to fit those into those meetings. And the goal overall is to keep them at 30 minutes maximum, but they've got to be as close to 15 minutes on a regular basis as possible. They've got to. There was a joke at one of the meetings that I was at. The best meetings, they're short, great starts. They end with impactful, meaningful endings. And the middle is keeping those two as close together as possible. Yeah. And I was like, I kind of like that. Yeah. But you still got to get everything in there too.
Yeah, absolutely. You alluded to it earlier, or I did, or one of us did. The office is in that meeting, and typically most dealers, struggle with the downstairs doesn't get along with the upstairs. And I'll give you an example. When a new program comes out or a new incentive comes out, and there's stipulations in order to qualify for that incentive, the office will say, I need 2 proofs, or I need a clear copy of, or and the sales team usually goes, oh, they don't need that. Well, when you're in the sales meeting and they're together, the office explains why.
Correct.
And when the downstairs understands the why, we all go, and it stops all of that. Yeah. It stops those issues. So I just wanted to throw one of those at you. Absolutely. So you're exactly right. 15 minutes is perfect. Really hard to do in 15 minutes. Yeah. If you can keep it to 20, you're crushing it. Yeah. You can't go past 30. Yeah. If you go past 30, you've lost the room, right? And, like to your point, we usually start the meetings off with, hey, here's what we just talked about downstairs that we got to crush. Here's the main topics. Yep. And we end with the let's go. It's that middle that you just referred to, the sandwich. What's inside the sandwich? You talked about the 2 pieces of bread. But what are those middle pieces? Man, you got to bring impactful stuff. Don't bring the same stuff every single time.
That's the number one complaint that we get, is that we've repeated a topic too many times.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Hey, guys, we get it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You brought us here early before we to hear it again.
Yeah.
Quit doing that. So my I guess ask to all of our audience and listeners and all the managers out there, make sure you mix things up quite a bit so that you don't lose your staff.
Well, and come prepared too. I mean, I think the hardest part is when you don't have a set structure for those meetings. You can spend a lot of time wandering, and we all have that one manager or that one speaker that is going to be long-winded. You almost need to have that set up ahead of time. Like, this is the word that we need to cut it off. Or, hey, you got 2 minutes to go through your spiel, whatever it might be. Make sure that it's well structured, because you can tell a difference between a structured meeting and one that's just ad-libbed. Very few people are good at ad-libbing them, and you need to know, okay, these are don't stumble through your numbers. Don't stumble through facts. You can let the filler words be the problem that comes up, but what your main points are, those have to be perfect and they have to be planned.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. What other kind of meetings do you do?
So when you're talking about weekly meetings, the other one would be doc reviews. Ooh. So Mondays and Thursdays, I've got the managers and I've got the sales staff. On Tuesdays, we do the doc review. So that is, where all of our money hits. I always joke, all of your pay plans are paying when it hits the doc review. Yes. Or when it hits the doc, and then we go back and review it.
Yes.
So For us, the doc is our daily operating control. It's DOC, doc. And what it is that's like the financial ledger of the store. There's a lot of information on it. How many ROs you do, how many parts you sell, how much you made per, your widgets, the SUVs versus sedans versus convertibles. Goes model by model. There's a ton of information in there.
Yeah. So now you're talking about my hot button.
Yes. Yep.
I love the doc.
Yes.
It's funny when you talk about a doc review. You said daily operating control. If you're not, I'm going to back up to that for a second.
Yeah.
Daily operating control. If you're looking at your doc once a week, once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you just don't look at it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there. Just stop trying, okay?
Yeah.
What I want you to do is want you to look at it every day.
Yeah.
And this is the hard piece, is finding that few minutes every day. By the way, if you do it every day, it takes a few minutes. If you do it once a month, it takes a lot of hours and a lot of wasted time. If you do your doc review daily, just take a peek at it. You'll catch things. And it's funny how if you have managers in the room when you're doing the doc review, you start just scrolling. It's like that silent walk around that you do on the trade-in. Don't say anything, just scroll. Maybe take your mouse and highlight over something and don't say anything, and the manager, oh no, here's what happened. Oh, really? Yeah. Didn't even ask you yet. Yeah. Tell me more, right? And you'll also find that isn't right. Oh, wait, why does that say that? It shouldn't say that. We're 4 days into the month. I don't have $20,000 in those widgets. And then you'll go, maybe there's a fat finger. Maybe you did. Maybe you did have $20,000. You didn't know. Nobody told you. You'll find so many things looking at the doc. It's not funny. And at the end of the month, if that's when you're looking at it and all your numbers are lumped together, it's hard to find it. Nothing stands out like that.
No. And that's the other thing with a doc review is you start to learn who pays attention to it and who doesn't. Mm-hmm. Your fixed team, you don't even have to ask them. They don't keep a stack of ROs and those are the ones I'm going to get paid on today. No, they go into their doc and go, okay, this is what closed, this is what didn't close. Same with parts. It didn't happen if it didn't get on to the doc. The thing that frustrates me is on the variable side is, hey, we sold a car. Well, what part institutes actually selling a car? So is it when the customer says yes? Is it when they sign? Is it when they give you the check? Is it when the bank gives you the check? Is it when the estate does all the titling paperwork? Like, when is it a sale? It is not a sale.
My answer?
Yes, go.
My answer, it's a sale when the office says it's clean, everything's there, and I'm willing to cost it.
Yes.
Now it's a car sale.
And when they cost it, it goes to the doc.
Yes, I'll be darned.
Because that's what we have receivables for. That's why we have contracts in transit. Like, the money's coming. We know it. When we costed it, finalized it, and put it on your doc, that means we know we're getting paid. So, yes, now it's a deal.
The doc isn't how many cars you've sold that month. The doc is how many cars you did proper, and the office was willing to say, I agree with you. Yep. Everything's there for the incentives, and we're going to cost it, and we're going to pay the sales consultant. That's what the doc tells you. Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't care what you think you have. The doc is what you have. And if it's wrong, could be.
Yeah.
Could be your fault. Could be somebody else's fault. I don't care, but it's what we're saying we have.
Yeah.
If you're not inspecting your doc on a daily basis, and again, if you do it every day, it takes minutes. If you do it every week, it takes hours. If you do it every month, don't even try. Look at your doc every day.
Yep.
Right? And again, who's in your doc review?
So everybody that's in my manager meetings are in my doc review.
Okay.
So, and it's my grassroots person, she jokes, she's like, I think I learned too much in those meetings. And well, what do you mean? Well, the numbers and the profits and the losses and things are going good, things are going bad. We have the opportunity. We're running out of time. It's fascinating to hear the different perspectives because that's what makes those worthwhile. And for me, I run very different doc reviews. So at the beginning of the month, it's a different doc review than the middle, than the end. I've got different versions where one version I compare the doc against what their closed deals are. Yeah. So I'll compare, this is how many I think I have sold because they're not on the doc, so I don't count them as sales.
Yes.
And then I have the doc. Okay, how are you trending? So you've got 70% of your deals showing on the doc. This other 30%, they're triple the gross. It's a good way to fact check your doc to make sure that it's coming through. Or you just got 3 times better in the last, third of the month. So does that make sense? Does it pass your smell test? And then you can start deep diving in there as well. Or chargebacks. Because the doc, you got to drill into things. It gives you the summary, but it doesn't give you the details. You have to then dive in to find the details. And again, certain things, you can find some accounts a lot easier than you can find other accounts. But charges. We sold the car, something broke, is wrong. We have a customer satisfaction, dollar amount that we need to put together. Are we charging it in the right place? Are we keeping track of it? Is everything going in the right spot? So that's the other part of the doc, is because at least when you're doing the doc weekly, when you do your monthly expense review, a lot of these things should have come up or should have become red flags before you get to the expense review. If you're doing your doc review good,
that's
then
the last line.
Probably going to do it good.
The doc review is what catches all the stuff that you may have missed.
Yeah.
And doggone it, we go 100 miles an hour. We're going to miss some stuff, and that's okay. But you don't have to drill into, like you just used a word I was going to use. You said smell test. You don't have to drill into every count. By the way, if you're going to do that, minutes, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But if you're checking your smell test, you go, whoa, what do you mean I have 20,000 in chargebacks? It's the third. And then you click it and go, ooh.
That's why.
That's why. Or, ooh, we didn't put those into the last month like we should have. We didn't know we had them and we figured that out, or whatever. That's the stuff you got to be watching constantly on the dock. And you just said you have a grassroots manager that said, oh my gosh, I almost learned too much. I remember when she said that.
Yeah.
I was there that day.
Yeah.
Because she said to one of the owners, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this. And the owner went, holy cow. I remember that day.
So probably my favorite part of manager meetings and doc reviews. But my goal is to make sure at the end of the year, or if we bring on somebody new, that everybody in that room is ready to be a general manager. You may have not done every single customer complaint. You may not have the relationships with the manufacturer. You may not have the fine details, but you at least are smarter than many of your competitors out there, because I came from a dealer group where I wasn't allowed to even look at the doc. We had an Excel sheet that was separate than the doc that we were allowed to manage, and then the controller was the one who compared the two. Never saw a financial statement. We'll talk about our financial statement reviews. I mean, we show our managers the financial statement. We don't hide anything. We talk about, hey, this is why a financial statement looks like this. Mm-hmm. That oh, hey, by the way, these are the doc lines that pull into your financial statement, so that you can, because your financial statement, that's a snapshot in time. It's one day out of each month that you get to look at. You don't get to look at it daily. You don't get to go through it. It gets done. The month is over. Everything's happened. Then it goes to your financial statement.
Yes.
Nothing you can do.
Everybody agree on the doc? Okay, good. Push the button.
So it's interesting, because if there's nothing to hide. So give the information out. Teach everybody. Trust me. If you're an owner, or you're a dealer partner, or you're a general manager that's paid off in that, you want everybody to know how it's done and how it's made, and how the number that we all care about, net, N-E-T. You need to know everything that goes into it and how to find it.
That is literally my favorite word.
It's the only reason that we're all here.
It is, right? If we always talk about, okay, here's what I have to gross.
Yeah.
Here's what my expenses were. Here's what my net is. That's the equation for net.
Yeah.
But if we're not all part of the takeoff, are we all going to really care about the landing? And that's why we're talking. Every meeting you've talked about so far is we're all together. We're all together. We're all together. Yeah. We're a team. We're all collaborating, and we're all making plans and policies and procedures. That's so important. It's not funny when it comes to net, right? And you'd be surprised. Listeners would be super surprised. I don't know how many interviews we do a year. I can't even guess. Yeah. There's that many. I don't know of another group from when I'm interviewing people to be general sales managers or general managers or even variable managers at our stores, and I say, hey, when are you involved in your financial statement reviews, your doc reviews, the numbers, the nets? And I don't know of a last time somebody said, oh yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
Oh no, you know what I hear? Oh, the owners do that, the controllers do that.
Yeah.
They don't even involve the GMs most of the time.
Yeah.
And it just mind blows me. And then I go, oh my gosh, what do you do as a general manager?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're on the front lines and we're talking to customers. I love that.
Yeah.
That is so important. It's not funny.
Yeah.
But you don't know your numbers? You don't know nets? You don't know. No, I know what we gross. Okay, there's a whole second half of that equation. Are we talking about the other half, right? You can't have A squared plus B squared to get C squared without one of the A's or the B's. Like, you got to know them all, I guess is my point. So.
And I think it says a lot about their pay plans, too. You're obviously not paid on net.
Yep.
Or expenses don't matter if you can't see those things. Or maybe you do. Maybe you are paid on that.
Don't care.
Maybe you do and it doesn't matter. The paycheck shows up and that's the end of it. But
Yeah.
you would want to know how to influence those numbers. Again, it's one thing to sell more of anything, parts, service, body shop, car, whatever it might be. But if you don't know that you spent too much money trying to do it, or you incentivized too much, or you didn't accomplish, you sold more and made less. Great job.
Woo.
Right. Didn't work.
Crushed it.
But so after you look at those, we have other weekly meetings as well.
Okay, what are they?
So those are in our group, because we're a large group. We then have a bunch of meetings that are just specific to your role. So we have a used car meeting where all the used car managers will meet on a phone call. They do it through Zoom so that nobody has to be disrupted in the stores.
Desk.
Yep. So those are, Wednesdays and Fridays. But they do, depending on what's going on Tuesdays, they do have one before my meeting that's done with all of their similar managers. So ours, we do it by manufacturer, so that, all the ones that sell the American-made A model and all the American-made B, they're a lot more similar, so they work amongst themselves.
Don't you work for a dealer group with you work for one of the largest dealer groups in the world?
Yeah.
And they have so many stores that they, like, to your point, they get together, the used cars specifically, for instance, get together. I think it's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
And they do it at, again, 8:30 in the morning, so it's before work. But the reason I'm bringing this up, they're talking.
Yep.
Most large dealer groups are against each other. Yep. It's a competition. It's no, we don't trade with them. Oh, we don't even call or talk to them. We just want to beat them. That's so, in my opinion, listen, things work for everybody.
Yeah.
In my opinion, oh my gosh, are you leaving a lot on the table? The basically 20 group that we have inside of our group, because we're so large, is so important it's not funny.
Yeah.
Working together as a team, sharing inventory, sharing ideas, sharing the wins, sharing the losses. Hey, don't do this. By the way, we tried it.
Learned it.
Horrible. Right? Those are the things that are more important, I think, than anything on a day-to-day basis, right? Because it's almost like a mini 20 group.
Yeah.
So on those calls, those specific calls, let's just pick one.
Yeah.
The used car, for instance. What do you talk about on those calls? What are the main topics that you guys talk about?
So those we're typically deep diving into, kind of similar to the manager meetings, sales numbers, paces. But then again, because it's pre-owned specific, that's where you take the deeper dive into your turn rates, your inventory stocking levels, how quick they are hitting the lot, and many other things too, right? We talk about percent to market, and are you overpriced, underpriced? Here's what's working for me, here's what's not working for me. Marketing seems to come out quite a bit because there's so much that you can do, whether it's individuals or as a store or as a group. We plan out. Sometimes we do a sale, like a specific sale as a group. So we'll do, we've done tent sales, we've done, weekend only sales, we've done appraisal events, lots of different things that you come to any one of our stores, this is what you're going to experience this weekend, kind of marketing. But even just general market trends too, right? The tariffs as they were coming. Some of us were more exposed than others. Sure. And we were seeing trucks specifically were moving fast. And we're the largest trucks store when it comes to our manufacturer. And they're saying, okay, are you seeing people trading trucks? And, we were joking. We were struggling with HD trucks this year. All of a sudden, they took off out of nowhere.
They did.
And we're like, Can't figure it out. Well, it's because the values went up. So, I mean, if my value went up, I'd trade it too.
As I would too.
Yes.
Right.
So you change your marketing. Then some of the guys you're watching and they go, how much more are they worth? Maybe I'm appraising too low. So really cool conversations like that.
And you know what I feel like, one of the things that it really helps us doing what we're talking about, being a group and talking as a group and getting the collaboration amongst ourselves, is I feel like we're ahead of the curve. And what I mean by that is when you're a single store or maybe two stores or even a group that doesn't talk to each other, it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, then you go, oh, that's what's going on. Well, when you're a big group, somebody always figures that out first and shares it. Hey, here's what's going on, and we all can pivot quickly. Versus if you're not doing that, it might be a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months later, and you go, man, I wish we would have caught on to that quicker. That's what the big group does, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me how some people will say, hey, here's what we're doing, and they've been doing it for a month or two, and it's been working for that long, and you didn't share that? Why wouldn't you share that? Our group doesn't have that problem.
No.
When we figure something out, we're on the phones, aren't we? We beat the meeting.
Yeah.
We're on the phones going, hey, did you see that these widgets just increased $1,000 overnight in MMRs? We're talking right now. Versus, hey, don't tell our sister store that. Let's take advantage ourselves. We don't do that.
So, I mean, the cool thing about, I shouldn't say that. The interesting part about COVID is that it forced certain things to happen. It is what it is. At the beginning of COVID, everybody was selling inventory. It didn't matter who you were. Very few stores and very few dealer groups said, it's on sale, I'm going and buying some. And that was probably one of the more entertaining meetings that we've had, is the market's telling you, the directors are telling you, the news is telling you, sell everything. This is going to be a rough ride. And then one of us was at the auction and goes, hey, I'm pretty smart. You're never going to see a low mileage 3-row SUV for under $20,000 ever again. We need to go buy every single one of them. I don't care how long we got to wait. But I mean, cars were $5,000-$10,000 less than they should have been at the very beginning of COVID.
And thank God one of us caught that.
Yes. And then all of a sudden, I mean, we were probably weeks into everybody selling, and we go, hey, we need to start buying. This is going to open up at some point.
Yes.
Like, everything's on sale. Interest rates are still cheap right now. We need to make sure we get out and we take advantage of it. And that it comes out of those meetings because it's one person took a chance. Our largest pre-owned sports car month was in November.
Yeah, the month you would never guess.
Yes, because a manager took a risk. Nobody's buying. We're in a very cold climate. It sometimes snows in November.
Yes.
And why would you buy them? But, again, how weather works, there's still warm areas of the country. Some don't ever see snow, or most of the time never saw snow.
Yeah.
And they're still willing to buy. And they know that they're buying at a discount. I'm buying at a discount from the customer. We're selling it at a discount to the end customer, all because they bought a car 4 months early.
Yes.
So that was another cool experiment. Now, we didn't all go out and buy convertibles.
No.
But
some of us did.
Yes.
And we shared them amongst each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fun when you have a whole group running in the same direction.
Yeah.
And that's what meetings do. What other kind of meetings? There's a lot of meetings. Are we not running into that?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of meetings.
There's plenty. Now you're talking more about your twice-a-month meetings or monthly meetings. So
give me an example.
Like your earned inventory from the manufacturer.
We call those consensus meetings.
Yeah, so ours are consensus meetings. But you sold a bunch of cars, and then the manufacturer says you did so good. This is how many you earned. What does that meeting look like? So sometimes we combine those as inventory meetings. Sometimes they're consensus meetings. We used to do a consensus meeting. What did we earn? Okay, what did we learn from it? This is what we got to change next time. And then we would do a separate inventory meeting. How much do we have in stock? What are we going to order? We've really kind of combined those because, again, you probably need some time to think about it, but it's easier to think in a room as we're all talking than it is to wait 4 days and then, okay, I thought about it. This is what we need.
We're gonna do.
The math is the math. And really, when it comes to inventory, feelings got to come out of it because feelings are what get you in trouble. and rarely is it going to achieve what you're looking for, at least to the degree that you would want it to be.
Sure. We talked about expenses quite a few times
Yeah.
during this meeting, and we can have an entire show about expense meeting.
Yeah.
By the way, we should do that because I would love that.
Yeah.
That episode.
We talked about doing that today.
Yeah, we should do that soon. But is inventory one of the big three expenses?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So should it be one of the big three meetings?
Yeah.
Should consensus be super important?
Yep.
Is turn rate? I think you mentioned it actually already earlier in this episode.
Yep.
Turn rate, pretty important.
Very important.
In the whys of it, you better have these meetings,
yes.
right? Should we take? Which one should we not take? That comes into play, doesn't it? Are we earning are we earning our share, right? We could get into the weeds on this, but if you're not having these consensus or inventory meetings, start.
Yeah.
They're important.
Super, super important. And again, the strategy is, the most important part of it. And again, when you're doing it by yourself, we've made mistakes. You can tell when we missed a meeting or during COVID when all of our meeting cycles were messed up during COVID. We're too busy. We're too slow. We're too focused on this, not focused on that. It's been nice to just get everybody's heads back together, get the meeting cadence right, because again, inventory, it didn't matter. You took them all. Well, now interest rates are high. Now the sales are not keeping up, or the demand is not keeping up with the inventory. Yes. So now you do have to turn stuff down. Now we do have enough constraints on certain colors or parts or options. So it is more important. You got to be talking about it. And again, the car business is cyclical. It worked before. Yes, we didn't need it because we were taking all the inventory, but now that we have the inventory, it's needed again. Sure. So don't forget what you used to do.
100%. Could not agree with you more. And this was probably a month or two ago now, but I'll just say it. A general manager in the group you work for said to me, there's nothing we can do about inventory, the interest expense. The banks dictate that. So my interest expense, there's nothing I can do about that. And I went, you need to sit down for a minute, right?
This could be a long day.
We're going to talk about the statement you just made. We're talking about inventory in turn in this meeting, this specific meeting. It's not just how many you order, it's how many you get rid of.
Yeah.
Age matters. Yes. And it's so important to talk about it because I can't tell you how many times I watch a white widget leave the lot 3 days old, and the exact same white widget, 100 days old, is sitting on the left-hand side of the lot.
Yeah.
And it just makes my head go boom.
Yeah.
And if we're not having meetings and talking about these and putting those vehicles on the showroom floor or on the front pad to get rid of those first, it all affects your inventory meeting. That's what happens after that meeting. When I watch your inventory meeting, by the way, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I love your meetings because they're so in depth. Yeah. And people leave the meeting going, oh my gosh, I learned something today. I didn't know that, or we haven't talked about that in a few days. Every meeting you do, I love those. I leave there going, ooh, like I'm refreshed. And when people leave the inventory meetings that you have, I'll watch the cars on the showroom floor change. Yes. I'll watch the pad cars. I'll watch the inventory manager go, ooh, I could have packaged that one up on the dealer trade I did yesterday. But the next dealer trade, he's getting rid of your old widget for you. All because you had that meeting.
Correct.
But if you're not having these meetings, nobody's doing any of this.
No.
Does that, by the way, all the things I just said, does that affect your interest expense?
Absolutely.
Like big time.
Yeah.
But didn't the manager say, oh, no, the interest expense is dictated by the interest rates?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a piece. You guys keep talking about one piece of the equation. There's more than that.
Yeah.
Right? I know I'm swirling right now, but it means a lot to me.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, you can either let it happen or you can make it happen. And that's when it comes to interest expense and, well, you know what? Let's just move on to expenses.
Okay, talk about it.
So we have our expense meeting. So
we do.
We do it once a month, although you manage your expenses daily. But we take the deep dive once a month. So typically I am splitting them variable and fixed. Depending on how much we have to go into, I'll either divide it up into, sometimes we've done them combined. Most of the time we do them variable and fixed because most of their expenses are similar to each other. But then sometimes we do a deeper dive and we go into each individual one. So I'll just pull each individual department in. And you kind of know what that looks like, though. I mean, If you've got a manager that's ultra focused on expenses, that comes prepared to the meeting, then you combine them. If you've got a manager that's kind of on an island, sometimes you combine them and you leave them on their own to go through their expenses and you let everybody contribute. But a lot of times you just do it one-on-one because, again, as the general manager of the store, expenses are your job. But again, the decisions, depending on how you run, you're either a micromanager, you knew all the expenses, you made the decision yourself, you didn't give anything to your managers to make a decision about, or you empower them and they're making the decisions and you need to know the whys. Because my number one thing when it comes to expenses, make the decision. Doesn't matter if it's a customer complaint, something needs fixed, something needs purchased.
We'll talk about it later.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. My training is done in the expense review. If you made the wrong decision, listen, I'm going to back you 100%, and then I'm going to figure out why you did it, and then I'm going to tell you, yes, it was right, or if it was wrong, we're going to walk through why, and we're going to change how your mind makes those decisions so that we make the correct ones going forward.
Gosh, I love what you're saying. I remember growing up in the car business, I had a manager that did the exact same thing you do. He allowed me to make a call. I wasn't with an upset, you use the example, so I'm going to piggyback. I was with an upset customer many, many times. That happens in the car business, right? People are, if the car breaks, whose fault is it? It's not the manufacturer's.
Right.
It's not the guy that built it on a Friday. It's yours, right? It's the person in front of him's fault, right?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the feeling I used to have by being able to make the decision without saying, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I need to go ask. Let me go see.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do any of that. Yeah. Now, in the expense meetings we had, he would say to me, hey, let's talk about that. Why in the world? But he at least let me make it. And then I would learn from it. And he never punished me or was angry at me for any of my decisions. Like you just said, I'm going to back you.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to explain to me why, right?
Yeah.
Because normally that's here, let's just deep dive. Normally what you're talking about is policy, right? These are the policy expenses. Not lot damage, not whatever. Policy. Those decisions are the ones that drive me crazy the most. Yeah. When managers don't make the decision or make the decision, nope, not my fault, not paying, get out of here. That's when you snowball the problem. That's why it's important to allow them to make the decision to take care of a customer. We might not agree, but doggone it, you made the decision. I'm proud of you for it.
And we'll have to do a separate expense meeting because it's too easy to dive into each one. But every single expense you go through, your people. We've made the mistake of before. No overtime. And then we have no overtime. And then you go and you look at total hours worked and you go, how did that position go from 160 hours of that position a week to 210? Well, no overtime.
Yeah, we just hired more people.
We just hired more people.
Oh,
okay.
No.
All right. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's go back. Let's figure out exactly what that means.
That's so true.
Marketing. Hey, boss, I got this mailer. I know that it's going to work. Can I do it? Absolutely. 100%. You know what the return needs to be on that. We'll go through it in the expense review, see what your ROI was, your return. And you get in the expense review and you go, great idea. Didn't work. Great idea. Wow. Maybe we should do more, right? And that's, you go into that piece of it. You go into, one of our buildings, we had a lawn care company, and it's got a postage stamp of grass on it. And we were paid, it was like $150 a week. It literally takes 15 minutes on a lawnmower to do.
If you're going slow.
Well, there's no hills, so I can't even make that joke. But it was one of those eye-opening moments. It's like, okay, yes, we spend millions of dollars a month. Yes, it seems odd that we're going to cut a $150 expense, but if we're not cutting that expense, what other expenses aren't we cutting? So the goal is, it doesn't matter what it is. Is there anything you were not allowed to talk about in an expense review?
No. We talk about all of it. Yeah. I'm not kidding. We hide nothing. We show financial statements. We talk about every account. We deep dive into everything. Right now you're talking about the lawnmower expense. Those are the little ones, like you just said. Those are the little ones. You know how many little ones there are?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of little ones. And they all drive me crazy. There's some big ones. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of little ones, to your point. And you're going to get me squirreled. Like, you can see me right now. I'm antsy.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do the expense review episode.
Yeah. No, I know. We should.
They're so important. It's not funny. Yeah. It's one of the two pieces of the net equation.
Yeah.
And my favorite word is net. But I'm not going to do that. What other meetings do you have? Are we through them all?
So close. You know, there's the biggest one that we do monthly is an operational review. And that's the one where we put everybody in the room. It's almost like a presentation in school, right? It's you're talking about your business, and when I say you're the manager. You're telling the room, this is what I did last month. These are where I won. These are where I had opportunities. This is what I'm changing this month. This is the goal. Yeah. This is what needs to be worked on. So that's the first thing that we talk about. Then we talk about expenses and growth, and we talk about people and details and all of that. But at the end of those, the goal is always to have 3 to 5 actionable items that we're going to be working on for the next month. So the operational review is designed, just take a minute, unplug, analyze everything that you did last month, and then make a decision. Is there anything that I want to change? Anything that I want to tweak? Any process? It can be training. It can be transactional. It can be volume. It can be sometimes out of those meetings, hey, morale's a little off.
Sure.
We're struggling with the relationships between this department and that department. You know what? It's time to go out. Let's go rent a facility somewhere, and let's go, enjoy each other's company for an evening. Could be a dinner, could be an activity, but we've done that quite a few times. And again, we need to do better about just doing it in general. Yeah. But when you see that you're off, you need to add an extra, outing in between kind of thing.
One of my favorite parts of, again, your operational reviews, and you allow me to come to those.
Yeah.
And, I do like to talk.
You do like to talk. Yes, you do.
I do like to talk in those. You know what my favorite part of those is? Especially this specifically where you're at is, that gives them a time to brag for a minute.
Yeah.
Your store does a really good job, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? I'll give you an example. The service manager. He's in the back. We call it the front of the house, back of the house. He's in the back of the house. How many times do you get to, because we want to keep our arrogance down, right? We want to be humble. We want to be all those things. I get that. But once in a while, we need to say, hey, guys, look at what we did. Look at this number. I did blank. Can you believe that? It gives them a chance and a time to say, remember all the meetings we had last month? Remember we left work tired every day? Remember we all talked about our goals and our objectives in our forecast? Look what we did. We hit it. And here's how. But every single time we do these meetings, you know why I love them the most? Even more than that, it's those people that hit their objectives, but here's what we didn't get. And I'm going to go back to one of your favorite things to say. You say it to me all the time. It's not how many cars we serviced. It's how many cars we didn't service.
Yeah.
I'm like, Rock, stop it. Because we did so good. It gives them a chance to go, okay, we did awesome, but here's where we still have meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Here's what we still left on the table. Here's where we can still get better or we can tweak. And all those things come out in those operational reviews.
Yeah. And those are things that, especially for me as a general manager, that I use for my one-on-one meetings with the managers. It gives me some things, because there's still, when you're bragging, sometimes you brag about stuff that you shouldn't have bragged about. Sometimes, a question comes up, your service manager asked the sales manager a question they didn't know the answer to, or they were embarrassed about, or they found an opportunity that they didn't even realize. Those are the kinds of notes I try not to talk too much during them, because I really want the other managers in the other departments to be running that meeting. My GSM runs the meeting, and I sit in the back, I observe, I give a couple of points from time to time, I do the summary at the end, but really I interject to try to get service to say something about sales, or sales to say something about parts, or body shop to say something about service. And that's where our biggest growth has come from. Those are really cool meetings. I really do enjoy them. And as we're transitioning for our final topic, just one-on-ones in general. So for me, it's one-on-ones with managers, always the first day of the month, but even sales managers with their sales staff, or service managers with their advisors or their techs, having those meetings on the first day of the month.
Yeah. One-on-ones are my favorite. It's just a time to talk. And it's not, by the way, and, we always talk, we got to go to work. It's also, I need to know about you. What motivates you? What does not motivate you? We always talk about what motivates you, what's your why, and it's also what's not your why. You need to know those things about every one of your sales staff, because boy, if you're pushing on something thinking it's helping them and it's what they hate, you ought to know that too. Yeah. You need to know what if they have children, what they do for hobbies, what's their hot buttons, their cold buttons, how they operate as a human. Are they a morning person? Yeah. Do they drink a lot of coffee? You need to know everything about the people that you work with, and those are the times that you really get to know your staff, those one-on-ones. Because I find most managers, here's what I need you to do. Here's what you did, and here's what you need to work on to get better. Okay, again, half the equation. That's half. What does the sales consultant, the manager, whoever it is you're speaking with, your title clerk, whoever you're having your one-on-one with, what do they need from you?
Correct.
Do you ask that? Hey, where am I failing you? Where do I need to help you more? What can I do for you to make your life easier or your job better? Are you asking that question? Yeah. Because almost I sat in on, and I obviously won't name the store, but I sat in on some one-on-ones last month, just to be a ear in the room. The first one-on-one of the day got completed, and I went, feedback for the person that was doing it. Hey, you never asked that person what you can do for them.
Yes.
You told them what they can do for you. Boy, that's just half. And the next several one-on-ones were totally different. And it changed the way he's always going to do one-on-ones. I didn't come up with it. I was just talking.
Yes, yeah. No.
And it's so important, because those one-on-ones, at the end of your one-on-ones, you're going to go, holy cow.
Yeah.
And then the next month you're going to do the one-on-ones, you're going to, they changed.
Yeah.
That's why you got to do them all the time.
And that's, as we finish up, the thing that you focus on the most is, telling them, but it's the asking part of it, their personal life. The why has to be in there every single time. And you would be amazed at how many times it's always, some people it's, I need help with this. I need training. The one that always fascinated me most was, I just don't like our marketing. What do you mean by you don't like our marketing? I think we should advertise in the newspaper. We had one gentleman that won't advertise in the newspaper. That was another one. Great, I'm giving you a budget for the newspaper. Let me know how that goes.
Yeah, show me your ROI.
I knew where it was going. Sure. Because again, it was in that transitional time when newspaper was still very high, and everything was moving digital.
Yes.
And newspaper still works for a very specific client, but that's back when the cost was still where it was when it was at its peak,
yes,
and not where it should have been, where it is today. Yes. And those are the kinds of things. We talked about marketing in several different aspects, and I think the next episode should be about marketing.
Okay, we can do that. But, and to finish this meeting up, or episode up, I guess, meeting.
Yeah.
It's funny I said that.
Yeah, Freudian for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Meetings, there's a lot of them, and it drives some people crazy. I'm going to end with this on my end anyway, or my part anyway.
Yeah.
Have them all. But do them at the right times. Figure out when the right times are. Have all your people in them when possible.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody's involved. But if you do them consistently, everybody knows when the meetings are. It's not a guess. Oh, we haven't done this one in a while. Nope, you're doing it wrong. Have them consistently. Have them, if you can, if it works for you, try to have them before hours when you can.
Yeah.
And make sure every single one of them is 30 minutes or less, 20 minutes or less, or whatever that is for you guys. As soon as they go past 30, you lost everybody. So that's my 2 cents.
No, the meetings are the most important part. Again, you know your store. You know what works best for you. Again, there might be too many, and your staff you may need to ease them into it. If you're not doing any meetings, 12 meetings would be too many. But again, ease them into it. But you got to show the value. Do not have a meeting just to check a box. If there isn't value there, you've already lost them. Yeah. As we finish up, the main thing, as always, is if this is your first episode, please go back to episode 1, learn about us, learn about how many cups of coffee Paul drinks, but most importantly, learn more about what you're going to be hearing in more of these episodes. Thank you again for listening, and don't forget to follow us.
Thanks, everybody.